Today, we're going to be talking about the proper foundations for running a lawn care business. And my special guests today have quite a bit of passion and experience in small business. Kevin Salters, who's in the middle of the screen here, he's been in the lawn care industry for literally longer than I've been alive, and I'm in my upper 30s. And Joey Coberly is my personal bookkeeper. Him and his wife Megan run a company where they do the books for several lawn care, landscaping, hardscaping companies. So these guys are passionate about small business, but we're recognizing that there's some faulty foundations. So I want you guys to share what problems are going on out there with people structuring and building their businesses off, not a good start.
So between Megan and I, with Landscaping Bookkeeper, we've probably done, I don't know, over 1,000 meetings. And what we started realizing is that we're kind of problem solving the same problems over and over again inside of these meetings, working with companies' finances. And so we were like, well, what if we created a company and something that would help them lay proper foundations so that we're not seeing these repeating problems? And so that's where I think we talked to you about this last time, but where Lawn Care Launch came from. So Megan and I own Landscaping Bookkeeper, and we also own a company called Lawn Care Launch that we started in June. And it's all about setting up proper foundations in your business that help you scale off of those foundations. So you're a Christian, I'm a Christian. I really believe that the Bible is very clear on if you lay foundations properly, that's how everything grows off of that base. And so why not create a company that creates foundational elements to help you spring off of that base? Otherwise, we're just going to keep solving the same problems over and over again that could have been prevented through you knowing what you're doing in the beginning, rather than just being head down hustling with no strategy for 5 years. And then you just have to fix everything that you messed up along the way. Right.
Yeah, and where my piece comes in, Paul, is being in the green industry really since I've been 14 years old. Not saying that I know it all. I've just made and I've been part of a lot of mistakes in this industry, but I've also seen the growth that's come from a business that basically was a service that was only the really wealthy people had on your property, to now most people don't own a lawnmower and they are looking for someone to come and service their property. And we started with pen and paper and the old um, basically recorder at home when you leave a message on there, and you hit the play button back when you get it home, you see the red light and you get excited, to now all this instant gratification technology that's happened with integration of CRM systems and all that. I've watched all that come through, and I'm in this piece of the lawn care life to help people understand that the foundational piece of business, you can go out and do a great job and make money. And I have a lot of guys that come to us that are doing very well, but they have no business acclimate to them because it wasn't taught to them in the brick and mortar school. They're great at working and they are great at learning hands-on and the results of gratification from doing a job well done. But the business side of it gets very confusing to them and sometimes scary. A lot of times that can end to their demise. And we're here to help start at the very beginning and get them so that they're comfortable and can talk that business acclimate and move forward and scale this into a multi-person business or something that they can run for a long time.
Yeah, that's very well said. And I think a lot of people that get into this industry were good technicians. I know when I started, like I felt like nobody can mow a yard like me. I mean, I took passion. I'd do a border around it first, and I'd pick my line. And I grew up playing baseball and golf. And so I respect, like, if I went to a baseball game, I'm looking at the outfield like, man, look how good that outfield looks. Like some of the grounds crew at baseball stadiums just do a fantastic job with the turf. And then, I got to go to Augusta National Golf Club when I was a kid, which is, for those of you who don't golf, that's the nicest golf course in the world in Augusta, Georgia. And it's, when I say immaculate, I mean like every blade of grass and every flower. I mean, it's just perfect landscaping. Like literally, if you go there and you find something that's not properly done, you take a picture and you'll go viral. It's just perfect landscaping. So anyway, but I feel like there's a lot of other people that are like me that are like that, but you can be good at the craft, if you will, good at mowing or good at putting in patio pavers or good at, you know, putting in a nice garden, flower bed, mulch bed, or whatever it is. That doesn't mean you're good at business. And I
Mhm.
think that's where you guys are solving a lot of problems. You're helping these go-getters understand what it actually takes. You use that word business acumen. What is, that's a fancy word. What does that mean, Kevin?
It's just basically business vocabulary. There's a bunch of words that's used in business that are even out on social media. Let's say KPIs, and people hear that and they start talking, yeah, KPIs, but they really don't understand what a KPI is. That is okay. We run our program to help people understand what all the key points in that KPI, into key point indicator is, so that you actually understand the conversation at the table or at a network group that you're going to, and it'll also help you understand what's coming in and out of your business. It's nothing to be upset or nervous about that you don't understand the words and what's going on. Once we help you in our schoolroom type theory, where we help each other learn how to understand these pieces, the business is going to grow. It's okay that you're not good at business. That's what you have other people you can outsource for. That's why I hired Megan and Joey after hearing you talk about them with your personal books, Paul. That was a huge thing for me. Sure, I came from a business that was doing almost $6 million in recurring revenue of regular weekly maintenance on the commercial side. I had people that were reporting to us on a board that showed us those numbers. Well, when you're by yourself, you don't have that. And having that information come to you and that data being able to be broken down into layman's term that I was comfortable with, but other people will be comfortable with, it really helps them understand their business and grow in a separate way. And having a partner in business, it's important if you're going to grow that you need to learn how to lean on other people and get the benefits from their expertise so that you can all prosper together.
That's good. Joey, I know you kind of have like a pricing framework, and you've seen so many books now, you've seen so many numbers. I feel like you really got a solution when guys are like, I just don't know what I should charge. Can you tell us a little bit more about your kind of pricing 101 or pricing framework?
Yeah, I kind of do it a lot. I can kind of just look at it and do it in my head at this point. But I'm by no means as good at pricing as Kevin is. For example, like going out and Kevin does a lot of turf management, so he's going to be able to price stuff like that better than I am. He has a lot more hands-on experience with it. I've really found patterns in learning how to price a lot of your like recurring maintenance type of jobs and things like that. A lot of times you can just when you're starting out, I'm not saying by any means this is going to be perfect, but you can just kind of 4x the average amount of your team members a lot of times, and that'll get you really, really close when you're starting out. So if like your average team is $18-19 an hour, just 4x that. And a lot of times that's a really good man hour rate to start you off with. So I just don't want to see guys scale with really bad pricing for a long time. It's very hard to fix it. A lot of times you'll have to go up to maybe $600,000 or $700,000, and then you have to go back and cut half your yards or half your clients because you did bad pricing and you don't have enough pricing power to get them up to par for those to actually be profitable jobs. And so if you can just kind of ballpark it in the beginning, get it really close, you can tweak it over time, but you don't want to keep compounding a problem of getting bad yards over and over and over again for 4 years. It's almost impossible to fix it. And so a lot of times I'm just trying to get guys ballpark close based on how I understand overhead and cost of goods and all this stuff, owner's salary, and just getting it close because you can always tweak it.
And where we come together in this pricing deal that Joey and I kind of discuss, I'm not going to say hash out, is where he sees the hard fact numbers. And the experience that I have when we were with Russo Lawn and Landscape that then became Brightview, we would go out onto a job and we did nothing but commercial. So there were large facilities, HOAs, and a lot of people think those properties are super high margin because there's more grass to do or there's more asphalt to plow. But they're really, your hourly rate is much less than if you're on a residential, and you really have to be dialed into the numbers. So we had a lot of different formulas that we'd do based off of square footage. And then we would have basically a meeting there one day where the account managers and even some of the crew members, the foremen, we would have them review the property and we'd want a gut check from them. So those are the guys that are boots on the ground and could go through the property and figure out, yeah, it's going to take my crew about 8 hours, or it's going to take 7 hours, or what it's going to be. And then we literally would go back to the conference room and have a meeting and come up with our pricing. And then we would gut check it with the formulations that Joey could come up with in the deeper numbers of reporting of profit, loss, what's our overhead, blend that all together and get it really dialed in. There's a lot that goes into it. And when I meet with the guys that we're coaching with and gals, I try to bring the field experience into the reporting that we have in our system so we can come up with a number. Because every area, we have Hawaii, we're across the entire country coaching these business owners. There is some play into geographically where you are too in the returns compared to Connecticut to Hawaii to Idaho to even Florida.
So good. Well, when it comes to foundations, and I'm in about year 15 of being a small business owner. I started 2011. And I think the biggest well, I made the pricing mistake, Joey, of compounding. Like my price was way too low, and then I went out and I got new jobs, thinking I'm all that in a bag of chips. Like, oh, everyone likes me. They must like me because I keep saying yes. And now I'm got more work at a price that's just it's like I was a hamster in a wheel. But the biggest foundational mistake that I personally made me, I'm not sure if it's the mistake your clients are making, but it was taxes and not understanding taxes. And I know you guys are kind of passionate about taxes 101 and understanding that foundation. And we all have a mutual friend and Sheila. But can you kind of walk us through if somebody's a newbie into a lawn care business, landscaping business, what would you like to sit down and explain to them about how taxes work and how they can most importantly be saving for those, and when the tax bills due they actually have the money to pay the tax bill? Because that was my problem, was not understanding how much I was owing, and then when I did get the big tax bill I didn't have the money to pay it, and I had to get on payment plans and pay interest and penalties. And the amount of stress that I went through owing the IRS, it's a heavy stress load.
Kevin, you want to speak on that since you've worked with Sheila directly with your business?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the very beginning of foundationals. So we have Lawn Care Launch, and we also have our boot camp hustlers, and we'll talk about in a bit. But the important part is a lot of guys start businesses for the need of needing money and revenue. And sometimes they lost their job, fresh out of school. They have a mower, they have a trailer, and they go out cutting lawns, and they're collecting money. They have no idea that that's revenue. So from the very beginning, we want to set them up to succeed and be a legit business, so that you actually have a tax identification number for the business, or you're going to report that through your personal social security, and let them understand how that all works. It's no different if you went down to the local burger joint and worked for them and received a paycheck. Any money that was paid to you for services given of making burgers, is you have a percentage of that that's liable to either the state and or the federal. And many people don't understand that. And sure, there's side hustle businesses and cash, and that's fine if that's what you're going to do. That's not our business. We want to make sure that you're legit and protected. Then once revenue comes in, we want to have a percentage of that money being put away so that it's in, let's say, a nest egg or an escrow account. So when tax time comes, you don't have this large outflow of money that needs to go to the federal government, because when you owe something to the federal government, you're guilty until proven innocent. So even if you are going to contest it because you think you don't owe as much, they still want the full amount they say they owe you, you owe them, and then interest on there every month until settled. So you really want to prepare yourself, because Paul, as you know, we've all heard your debt story, which is an amazing turnaround. The government, they have some pretty high interest rates, and they will get their money.
Oh yeah, and I paid them every penny, but the whole
And
thing,
then
right? But the whole thing could have been avoided if I had that tax 101 foundation. And what's I think really helped me, and I work with Megan and Joey as my bookkeepers and Sheila as my tax preparer, but I opened a whole nother separate savings account at a different bank with a high yield interest. And then as money comes into my business, the revenue comes in, I'm taking a percentage that Sheila has kind of suggested, and then of the revenue, and I put that into my tax savings account, and then I send in the payments. So I think I solved it, but it's been 15 years in now, and it shouldn't have taken me this long.
And since we're live, we can talk. We're September, and if you are running a legit business and you work with a professional such as Sheila gives me my estimated tax that I pay into both state and federal. That's all prescribed at the end of the year when we do taxes, based on my earnings of last year, and then basically a 10% increase for this year. So we have our quarterly estimates that go in, and I'm unfortunate to have to do a state and a federal. But that's all working with, again, another partner that I can lean on to take some of the pressures off of me. And that's why partnering in business and networking with proper people that are educated in the fields help you be successful. So now that estimated tax goes to them, I still have my escrow account that's going to be set up for the big check that's written at the end of the year, but it's less of that. And the government's actually happy that they're getting a piece along the way.
When you're using this word escrow, can you explain that to somebody who doesn't know what an escrow is?
Yeah, layman's term, it's a mason's jar that you cannot get into easily enough. It's at an institution, so it's either at a brick and mortar bank or electronic bank, and that bank account you can choose where it's going to be. You can put it in a high yield savings, meaning that that's a savings account that is invested by the bank a little bit more, so they can get a return on the money and they can give you a percentage of that interest, compared to some of your regular savings accounts or checking accounts where there's nominal interest over the year. So while that money's sitting there, it actually can give you a little bit of a return. And when I first met Megan and Joey, my goal was, I've said this many times, is to get my nest egg large enough in one of my bank accounts. And so that's kind of like the Mike Calowitz Profit First, one of those buckets you have, so that the interest would pay for my bookkeeping fees. And once I did that, I set up a new goal and a new goal from there. So you want to have other buckets set up for protection of money. And a perfect example is yesterday, Joey knows a story. One of my bank accounts got hacked. And luckily, all my funds weren't in there because they tried to wire transfer that entire balance out of there. And it was 2.5 hours of just pure stress. It was crazy. So it's important to have your money spread over for a couple of reasons: protection. And always, I like to always have a brick and mortar because I still want to be able to go and see a branch manager and talk to someone with help financially if I need it. But there's some great electronic institutions out there that offer some great protection and also higher interest rates.
Joey, did you have anything to add there?
No, I mean, we in our business, we've always done, you alluded to Mike McAllowitz, so we've always done profit first. It's served us really well. We've done it for 6 years. But if you follow all the buckets and categories in that, his system really works well. That 15% in his program, it's always 15%. You move some of the other buckets around, like your operational expenses and your income changes, obviously, and your owner's salary, and then you just consistently do 15%. And honestly, like, we've hit the nail pretty much on the head every year with our estimated, and a lot of times at the end of the year, I think one year we had to pay like $14 or something like that. It was like right on the money. So I highly recommend Mike McAllowitz, man. I love that system. Works really, really well. We do it. I've always done it. So and everything Kevin says is correct. If you're not doing profit first, you reach out to a tax professional. Sheila's great. You guys know how she is. She actually just recently flew down here.
Really?
Yes. I didn't tell you about that, but she flew down here and recorded for 3 days a tax 101 for members inside of Lawn Care Launch. So we're building out. Lawn Care Launch is literally everything you need to scale a company. So inside of Lawn Care Launch, we now have the course with Sheila that just gets you up on. It's not going to go in depth because you can't go too in depth in a course with taxes because it's different in every state and everything, but it's going to lay all the foundations that you need.
Wow. I was just in Charleston, South Carolina, where she, her neck of the woods, and I've still never met her in person. So you guys both now,
I see her every year. I look forward. We go down to her hometown where you just were every year. My wife and I, Stacy, and we do some strategic planning. We get to have a good time. We either do lunch or breakfast, however it's going to be, because it's during her busy time. But I make it a plan to go down to her. One, it is a business trip, guys. So when you have something like that, that is one of those tax deduction items that you can write off, and it is for a benefit of the business. But yeah, she's a sweetheart of a lady.
Wow. So you find the value in being so organized financially and just being on top of all your numbers that you don't mind getting on a plane. Not that this is required, but getting on a plane for your tax preparer to make sure you're dotting your I's, crossing your T's. I'm sure you guys talk about investing as well with the profits you're making in your business. Are you kind of coming up with a plan of how to make that money work for you?
Absolutely. And I may be a little bit of a different breed just because I did come from, let's say it ended up in the corporate world with Brightview as a publicly traded company, and understood how important it is to know the tax laws that are out there that we do not know. The most fault of the average layperson is not understanding the 400 plus pages of tax code that changes every year, where Sheila has to do updated classes every year to understand those. So she's going to know, and your tax preparer is going to know exactly how to use the law that's created for you that you may not know. And a lot of times, most business companies, they use it incorrectly because they think that they know the law because they saw something on social media and they're actually doing something illegal. So she kind of reviews some of the new changes. She sees the revenue coming in and how we can use the tax laws that are written to protect the amount of money that we have and only pay in the necessary amount.
And honestly, it's just nice to get together in person, right? Like we are all really good friends. And so it's weird. We live in an age where everybody is kind of in different states, and it's just not the way it's always been for all of, human history. And so it's just fun to meet up with, people in person. It just creates a different vibe, different relationship that's going to last longer. And we just enjoy each other's company. I mean, Paul, when you came to our house, it was great going out to dinner with you, and it strengthens our bond and how we feel about each other. And so it's like, I just think there's something to getting with people in person instead of this digital age that we're in, right? Like it just creates stronger relationships and stronger businesses, and it elevates everybody's level of play.
Yeah, that handshake and hug is important.
Yeah, and I'm glad you cleaned up your backyard since I first saw it. I was like, if you're going to be teaching lawn care folks for your career, you got to step up your game here, Joey, which you have. But my first impression of your backyard, I was a little
well, we had just bought the house too, so it's a work in progress. But Kevin really tore my backyard up too. So I got that all on video where he was just like, I was asking him for grass advice, and he was like, well, I don't think you have any grass back here, so I don't really know what to tell you.
Yeah, so you've made some massive transformations to your clients' businesses and to your own personal upkeep there in your massive backyard, which I love the land down there that you got. And I love your city. It's actually just a very peaceful, beautiful, you're in a very good part of Florida.
Yeah, it's come a long way over the years. It wasn't like that about 20 years ago, but they've done a lot to it.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Well, if you're just tuning in on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook, we've been talking about foundational mistakes that new business owners make. And I've been vulnerable, and I've shared so far 2 of my costly mistakes, which number 1, when I started, my prices were too low. I didn't realize they were too low. Kevin joked about working at a burger joint. I literally worked at a place called Best Burger. And they fired me. That was a low point in my life, getting let go of Best Burger. But thankfully the Lord's cleaned my character up a little bit. But anyway, I was used to working like hours. I'd work usually 5 p.m. If I closed, I'd get out of there like 10:30 p.m. because I'd have to clean the bathroom and all that stuff. But my mindset was I worked 5 hours, I get paid for 5 hours. So it's a positive, when I got my paycheck, it was positive. I got money, they paid me. But when I started my lawn business, I didn't realize, I thought I was making all this money because I was charging the customer $25-$30, So I thought, man, it's only going to take me 45 minutes. I'm going to make $30. Like I was thinking this seems too good to be true, but I had no idea that I had to put, fuel and oil in my string trimmer and gas in my mower. And then I'd have to buy blades for my mower and trimmer for my string trimmer. And, all of these expenses I didn't understand. So I was undercharging, and then I got more clients at that low price, and I just created this big mess. So we've already talked about that if you're just tuning in. Then the next mistake I made was I wasn't setting aside money for taxes, which we just talked about was a massive mistake. And then my third mistake was my bookkeeping for about 10 years was the shoebox method. I mean, I kept my receipts. We had a gas station in Georgia called Quick Trip. So I would keep my Quick Trip receipt that I got gas or whatever, and I basically throw it all in a shoebox, and I'd go see an accountant. And it was a mess. So when I met you, Joey, and I first got a quote from Megan, she's like, Paul, before we can even start working together, we're going to have to clean you up, do a cleanup. So walk us through how many of your customers at Landscape and Bookkeeper do you have to do a cleanup for, and explain like what proper bookkeeping, like I had to like start with you, even though I was 10 years in the business, with like doing things the right way. Can you kind of explain a bookkeeper cleanup and how you have the proper foundation with the finances and the books?
Yeah. So a cleanup is where we go back. So if you join Landscaping Bookkeeper in May, we go back and we clean up from January onward. And we do a lot of that for kind of your tax reasons, right? Like it makes the whole year clean. It's kind of useless just to come in mid-year and start getting some books. So we always make sure that you're current on that year. We don't really do it, but we can go back previous years and clean up those. It's a little harder because, if we do have any questions for you, you may not remember 5 years ago or whatever. So we kind of have to generalize those. But the the more up to date you can get with it, then we can make it more accurate, because we can't ask you what you bought at so and so 2 years ago. You probably don't remember. But I was talking to Corey Ballard the other day, and he was saying that that's his number one thing that he recommends in business, is that you get your bookkeeping and clean books done, because you can't really sell your company if you don't have clean books. He said he's bought tons of lawn care companies or businesses, and he said that, if you don't have proper books, he's not even going to give you the time of day. So if you're looking to create something that you're going to sell, or maybe you're not even looking to sell, but you should create a business that you are trying to sell one day. Like it should be an option, at least. You're going to need clean books. It's just the fact of the matter. Nobody's going to want to buy it if it's just, oh yeah, I made this much last year. Well, prove it. It's just your word of mouth. They just have to trust you. They don't know you. And so getting those proper bookkeeping foundations will help you make decisions. It's going to help you with taxes, and it's going to help you if you are looking to create something of value. It's going to help you sell the company one day. So those are 3 reasons to have bookkeeping, and that cleanup goes along in tandem with that. And yes, everyone has had a cleanup. It's something that we require when they do sign up with us. So if you join in January or February, it is cheaper, because we don't have to go back and clean up 8 months or 9 months or whatever. So a lot of times end of year, we'll say, hey, just join with us in January, and then we can start from the year. That way it doesn't cost you, $1,000 or $2,000 to go back and clean up an entire year in November if you join, right?
Very well said.
And one, let me add, if I could add to why that's so important. We go back to buckets, just like the Mike McCallow's buckets. With landscaping bookkeeper, and Paul, you have a chart of accounts. And what is a chart of accounts? That's within your business of every item that you sell is or use or buy or comes in goes into a bucket. And that bucket gets to be put into all kinds of analysis by Joey, Megan, and myself, especially when you come over to Lawn Care Launch. We're going to use those pieces to understand your business, how we can forecast and see problems within the business that can be created. And then how can you expect to grow if you don't know exactly how much did I spend on fuel last year? How much did I spend on equipment? What were my repair costs? All those pieces are very important so that you can strategically move that piece on the chessboard to be a better, bigger, stronger, and more profitable business next year.
And when we talk about, the buzzword is know your numbers, right? Well, what does that even mean? Well, I've been doing this a long time, and what I would define it as, you have to learn the language of business. That's what know your numbers actually means. If you don't understand what you're looking at with your profit and loss, cash flow statement, balance sheet, you don't really know your numbers. You kind of are just, you can make little decisions inside of it, but I'd like you to know how it works together, how it flows together, how those statements create value for your company. Because so many times when guys start out, it's like, how much cash is in my pocket? Where's my cash? Which is important. But you also need to understand that you're creating something that is of value, that can be sold, that can be passed down to your children. And a lot of times that's not going to be represented in terms of cash. It's represented in terms of value and assets and profit, and that's what know your numbers means. And we are so passionate about helping people understand that language. I don't want to just give you data nonstop, but you don't understand what the data means or where it's coming from. I want you to be able to make decisions for yourself, because this stuff isn't that complicated. It's just never been taught to you. And so inside of Lawn Care Launch, we're really passionate on just helping people understand the language of business. If you went down to Mexico and you were going to be, try to be successful down there, you would have to learn the language of the people. You can't just go down there and not be able to communicate with anyone. So when you learn business, you need to understand the language of it. And that is, the numbers behind it, the accounting basically. And anybody can learn it. You might think, I'm not that smart, I can't do it or whatever. But yes, you can, because this is pertinent to your life. It's going to give you success. And so something that is pertinent to your life and that will give you success, you can learn anything. That's the way the human brain works. A lot of times we don't want to learn stuff that isn't pertinent to our life. That's a lot of times what school is for us. What can I do with this chemistry? I'm never going to use chemistry, yada, yada, yada. But if you ever needed to learn turf nutrition, that would help you learn chemistry much faster, right?
Yeah.
So it gets pertinent to your life. And so that's what we teach bookkeeping and accounting. It actually is pertinent to your life. You need to learn it. And that's when the light bulb hits with people, right?
Si, senor.
and I remember before I became a client of Megan and Joey's, I was using the CPA in town that my prior company was working, and they do a great job. They did exactly what they were hired to do. But when I gave them all my information and had a meeting, and then they did my taxes and they set me up on my quarterlies, and here's the bill, Mr. Salters, for what you have, I left there kind of deflated because I didn't have any direction. I didn't understand how they came to the bottom line of this is what your gross profit was, this is what you had in expenses, this is what you owe the government, this is what you owe the state. Here's my fee. We'll see you next year. And I was making money, but I didn't know how and why to the detail that I used to know in the corporate world. And that's when I met Megan and Joey. I took that plunge, and full circle yesterday, I was parked in the exact same spot where I had my 15-minute call with Megan, and I was nervous as could be of taking a call from her and her wanting to talk financials with me. And it's pretty funny that she was nervous to talk to me because she heard about me being from a corporate company before. But it wasn't until I had Megan and Joey that I really could get the information that I needed to be comfortable with and understand it even more layman's term compared into the stock market side of it, so that I could make successful decisions moving forward in my business.
That's funny, Kevin. I was nervous, and I was in the Lowe's parking lot when I had my first 15-minute call with Megan, and I remember being nervous too. And I remember where I was. I was sitting on my raggedy truck outside of Lowe's, and we're talking on the phone, and I had a perception, being the podcaster and all this, like, to kind of have to humble myself and be like, hey, I need some help here with understanding my numbers and everything. So we were both nervous, and I'm glad that Joey, you and Megan and your team have been very awesome to work with, and I feel like now I understand my numbers more than ever. And the other thing that Kevin kind of alluded to, you kind of helped me, Joey, with understanding the principles of cutting cost and increasing revenue. And now it's about profit. Now that the foundation's in place, my pricing's on point, my tax, savings are being proactive, and the mistakes I made early on, I've corrected those mistakes, but now it's kind of explain your philosophies of how do we build that margin? Where do we increase revenue, and where do we cut those expenses? Because now that's more of the conversation, now that all the language of business and foundations are properly set.
So if I was going to ask you one question, Paul, I'm curious what your response would be. What drives the stock market value? So that's what Dave Ramsey basically is all about, right? Like mutual funds, stocks. What drives the wealth builder? What makes people wealthy off of stocks? So that's my question. I'm going to tie it back into this.
Can you ask Kevin?
Kevin?
It's going to, in my eyes, it's on stocks. It's going to be the long-term dividend return money that goes back and hopefully circles back in and reinvests in that piece so that it grows bigger and faster each time that there's an increase in profits or interest rate.
Yes, true. So where's the dividend come from, though?
The hopeful that someone else is buying into a company they believe, so they invest money into it so that that piece grows. So really, when a stock is sold, that's a company looking for infusion of cash in their business to make it stronger so they can invest and grow further in their business.
Yeah, so the dividend is actually a portion of the profit. So the profit goes to the cash flow statement. The dividend is actually on the cash flow statement. It shows how much money has been sucked out to pay out to the investors. But the stock market is literally all the wealth from it comes from what are called earnings or profit. So and the valuations are based on the Warren Buffett calls the irrational exuberance. So the valuations would be based on how much faster they think the companies are going to be growing because they'll give it a higher multiple. But basically, the stock market runs on earnings, which is literally the profit or the bottom line of your business. So if you can increase earnings, you increase the valuation of your company as well. The stock market's the exact same way. And then that can be tied into how fast the company's growing or whatever. That's how stocks work. So if we can increase the bottom line or the profits of your company, you increase the value of your company, which is literally what Dave Ramsey is wanting to happen with mutual funds, because mutual funds are simply just a basket of stocks. The basket of stocks needs more earnings or more profit. So if we increase that, we increase the value of the company. So that's what we're trying to do with your company. We want to increase profits to increase the valuation. So a lot of times in lawn care, it's a very customer service driven business. We want to base our work off of value rather than price, because then it's just a race to the bottom. The profit margins are already really slim in lawn care. I think the average is like 8%. So if we can get that up to 15 or 20, it has to be kind of a value-based model. So we want to provide a lot of value to the client, but the only way we can do that is if we have really professional work, we hire really professional people, which has to therefore be tied into your pricing. So your pricing has to be good. You talked about that earlier, Paul, but you also have to execute, and that pricing also has to be tied into your route density. That can increase your profits because you're spending less time in the truck. You have to retain your employees longer because they're going to do more professional work. Your training costs are going to go down. You have to be able to attract, you have your customer acquisition cost. So we have to be able to attract other customers cheaply. So that's going to happen from doing professional work, from being able to learn how to market. There's a whole bunch that goes into it. But basically, you have to do really professional work. You have to price correctly. You have to execute. You have to hire and train properly. And then you also have to acquire customers cheaply, which you can only do if you are doing professional work. You're retaining employees. So it's all interconnected. But basically, my point is that's how you increase profits in your company. That's how you create a wealth builder for you and your family, is through the high profit margins, through the ambition and growth rate of the company. And that's something that will be generational for you. You can't just keep spinning your tires and be the low pricing guy and always having turnover. It's not going to be sellable. So I don't know if I answered your question, but hopefully
that was spot on. That was exactly a great answer. Well, I want you guys, I know you've recently launched the lawn care launch, and I want you to kind of explain who that serves and what that onboarding process is. And then after that, we can talk a little bit about the boot camp you have coming up.
Yeah. So with Landscaping Bookkeeper, I love Landscaping Bookkeeper. I love bookkeeping. I love company valuations, accounting, all that stuff. What was really driving me crazy with bookkeeping is that I felt like we couldn't do enough, and so we still have Landscaping Bookkeeper, still a great company. I love it. We started a second company so we could do more. So Lawn Care Launch is the second company we've started. Kevin is a co-owner, Megan's a co-owner, I'm a co-owner, and then we have a fourth one, Stephanie. I think you may have met her, but she does all the marketing side and everything, and the creativity. But basically, Lawn Care Launch is everything you need to grow your company that will help you scale from 0 to 7 or 8 figures. And so we're taking all the data that we learned from in Landscaping Bookkeeper, all the conversations we've had, all the conversation experience that Kevin's had over the last 40 years, and all of Stephanie's experience inside of creating and marketing and things like that. We're putting it under one roof. And basically, what grows your company is going to be the marketing side, so your customer acquisition cost, the team building side, of which Kevin used to lead teams of 300, for his companies that he's worked for. He's an amazing leader, team builder. I have not had near the experience Kevin has in that category, but you have to be a good leader and team builder. You have to be good at getting your customer acquisition cost down. Then you have to learn the language of business. That's where Landscaping Bookkeeper comes in. Lawn Care Launch does that as well. And we bring it all under one framework and under one roof. And so that's the whole concept of it. And we originally built it for companies that were anywhere from the range of 100 to 300K. And the reason for that is we would get a lot of these 7-figure companies coming in, and we'd have so much to fix that we could never move forward with our framework and strategy. It would take years. And so there are models for that. There's accounting firms that fix that for you. We didn't want to be that. We wanted to work with guys from the beginning, kind of like you've heard a lot of people talk like this inside of lawn care, but it's easier to train somebody than have the guy with 20 years experience. You have to, refix everything. And nothing wrong with that. Our company just wanted to train and nurture people from the beginning. So we set that up to help companies from 100 to 300K. But recently with Lawn Care Launch, as we've been doing a lot of the testing, we launched in June. We've really wanted to help people even earlier. So the last month, we've been working on a product under 100K. And so what that product is basically a boot camp and a framework where you're part of a classroom with all 4 of us, myself, Kevin, Megan, and Stephanie, and we bring you into a kind of like a one-room schoolhouse type of feel. We ship you out what's called our boot camp workbook, and this is a 50-page workbook. It tells you everything you need to do to set up your company to make the foundations successful for you to be able to not have a lot of the problems that we have seen working with all these other companies. So we ship you the workbook. You come to class once a week. Other than that, it's very much day 1, you do this. Day 2, you do that. Day 3, you do this. And so it's literally step by step. It's been built by myself, Kevin, Megan, and Stephanie with all of our collective knowledge. So it's basically made by lawn care owners for lawn care owners, because Kevin basically made sure everything was good to go. He's like, yeah, this sounds good. This sounds good. We made the outline, and then Kevin was like, yeah, put this in there. And he refined it based on all of his experience, which is a super crucial step. So anyway, you get the book, and it's literally just step-by-step guide for 27 days. We're there to help you, keep you accountable. And it sets up, things like separating personal from business, getting your bank account set up. We teach you about bookkeeping, how the P&L works. We teach you about, creating door hangers and knocking on doors and things like that. It's literally just everything you need to do to set yourself up for success. Because it makes me so sad to watch people in year 6 and they haven't even separated personal from business, right? Like that's just crazy to me, but it happens. It's common. So just taking a lot of patterns I've seen, or that we've seen, and putting it into a framework to where you won't have these problems this guy in year 10's having, right? So that's the whole premise of it. It is literally only $50. We charge for it. I wanted to make it free, but we charge for it to make sure that you have skin in the game, because we don't want a bunch of willy-nilly people just joining for free. So it's $50. You get a book. We don't make any money on it. We just make the book. We ship it to you. We sell it at cost. And it's just to make sure you have skin in the game. That's literally the whole premise of it. But anyway, we run one a month, and we have classrooms of 30 people at a time. We're currently in our first classroom, starting another one on November 3rd. If you're interested in joining, go to lawncarelaunch.com and you'll see the banner at the top. You can click that and we'll ship your book to you. But once a month. If you're not ready this next month, we're going to run another one the next month. We're going to do it every month for who knows how long. So Kevin, you got anything to add to that?
I do, because you've given me way too much credit in this, and really the brains behind this. Yes, you and Megan come up with these great ideas, but Megan and Stephanie, this is their masterpiece. I mean, yes, I can come in and put my own input and look at things, but when you see the website add-on for it, or this book itself, I mean, Megan and Stephanie did such an amazing job. This book blew me away. I have it in person, and you can see it online, and Joey's going to share it in a bit. They've done such an amazing job that just, I don't have that creativity. I have a hard time drawing a crooked line, never mind some of the artwork that Stephanie does. And Megan, from the school teacher, thought, when she put it all together and all the scripting, she really came from the educational side of teaching people instead of just the knowledge based of a book that you're going to read and hopefully absorb. So yeah, I'm super excited, and perfect example why we went down this path to help bring into the lawn care launch is we have a 15-year-old in there. And actually, Paul, him. Chris Gentry's son is in there, Tanner, who has
let's go.
Yeah, well, he has a mowing business that he tows a trailer behind a moped or a bicycle. It's like actually a bicycle.
Wow.
And then yesterday we just had a new entry that wants to sign up. He's a sideline guy in high school, 16 years old. His father's a police officer in one of the towns I was servicing yesterday. And we ended up talking, and we talked about that piece, and he's going to be in our next boot camp. So there's a lot of great talent out there of people that don't want to go to college. And this gentleman I talked to yesterday said, my kid does not want to go to college. This is what he wants to do. And he texted me last night. He goes, my son is so excited to get into the next classroom. He's been through the website. He's seeing what's going on. So there's a lot of great people out there that can make a phenomenal living. I've been doing this for 40 years. I am not rich. I'm not wealthy, nor do I care to be, but it's always provided for me. It's never not given me what I needed at the time to provide for my family and this section of life I was in.
So good.
Yeah,
Joey, did you want to show us? Yeah.
Yeah, let me show you the book. So yeah, I'm glad Kevin said that, because I got it really ahead of myself. But this was designed by Stephanie. Huge shout out to her. It's amazing. So she's our creative, our marketer. I'm pulling it up now.
And while you're pulling it up, what you get inside Lawn Care Launch once you move from the boot camp part is Stephanie does what is called a brand script. That's where she's going to basically creatively find your customer based off of what needs you have and what services you're going to sell. So you're actually selling to the right customer. She takes all that work through a process. It's like a storyline, matches it with the colors that you need for your business that you kind of have used, but everything is completely uniformed across. And by the end of the meeting with her and she's creating your website off of your brand script, it's a gotcha moment. Like, wow, Stephanie, we've never met, but she understands who I want to serve and how the best path is. And she creates the website to it. This is all her work here. She just has this amazing mind and creativity that just doesn't stop.
It's really cool. So yeah, you've got Stephanie who designed it, and then you've got Megan who has a master's in educational leadership. So Megan did a lot of the really fine detailed in this book in terms of how people learn and everything. And then, like I said, we had Kevin make sure it's pertinent to lawn care companies with his 40 years of experience. So it's really been refined. This is it here. We have from the founders. Here's our table of contents. So basically, 27 days. It's line by line what you need to do to set your company up for success. Then we have a classroom each week where we make sure everybody's accountable and everything. But we cover things like really basic stuff, researching local banks for your business, making sure you just have some banks, setting up accounts. You want to list your services in your target neighborhoods for your strategy. So our message is combining your hustle with our strategy, because we got a lot of hustlers out there and we got a lot of people that aren't setting goals and being strategic, and we need both of it to be successful in business. We go through bookkeeping systems, pricing, man-hour rate, income statement, cash flow, balance sheet, creating an asset inventory. Kevin helped with a lot of the creating systems for sending estimates, the systems for business budgeting. It's literally everything you need. We even got tax live Q&A with Sheila on here. She's going to be joining. But yeah, once a month we run this. And then on the, so we're big on creating a rest day. Make sure you don't get burned out every 7th day. You're going to take a rest day and just not worry about it. But yeah, this is kind of the overview. I'll take you a little bit further through it.
No dead air on podcasting, Joey. Say something.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
All right, we got our friends.
I haven't done 1,600 episodes, Paul. So
there's an incredible core. It's awesome. But there's a core group of predominantly men that listen to the podcast every morning. It's a part of their morning routine. And so I'm honored. But you guys, Joey's looking at a form online and not saying anything. And some, Tony Rudolph, thank God we got Tony Rudolph who listens to us down Lake Oconee. He's sitting out on his mower like, is my headphone working? What's going on? No, he's just not saying anything. It's called dead air. Big.
Okay, well, I'm learning from you, Paul. You got me started in podcasts. I'm only on episode 60.
If you ever listen to Rush Limbaugh back in the day on radio, if he was looking something up, he was always like,
yep, making the noise,
doing something with the paper just so you didn't turn the radio down. Like, hey, well, they didn't pay the bill on the radio, went off. No, it's just that. Yeah. All right,
well, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but basically, each day has like 7 questions that you have to answer on here. So just for creating the vision, which is like our first day, it gets you really into detail, like who's going to watch your kids. You got to have somebody watch the kids. So take your wife out on a date. You need a date and time, discuss the business. Where are you going to meet? How long are you planning to talk? Are you eating dinner or not? Like, just, is it on your calendar? Are you going to be disciplined to follow through on it? And so a lot of it is just actionable steps, detailed, just making sure that you're actually going to do it and execute it. That's the whole premise of it. Discipline and execution. And so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but basically all that stuff I was talking about, each one has an individual page and 7 or 8 steps to have you write down exactly what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. And I just think in this industry, we need to get a lot more strategic and goal oriented, because that's how you actually follow through on things. It's not enough to just hear things and make you feel good. You have to execute on it. And so that's what the whole point of the book is. It's basically going to hold your hand up until you're really set up and ready to go to have that foundation to build off of. So anyway, yeah, that's page 1 there, just the welcome to boot camp and everything. But anyway, thanks for letting me share that.
Yeah. And just a quick example, like page 1 seemed kind of basic, like get with your spouse or partner. And not everyone will have that, but within Lawn Care Launch, Megan and I just had the opportunity, and it was actually a privilege to coach Andrew, who I'm sure he'll be listening. And we had his wife on because we've had some coaching sessions with him, and it came to the point where his wife had some concerns in the business. And there's no better time than to bring them in at the very beginning so you can lay a vision plan out. So there's a little less kind of guesswork with what's going on. And we had a little over an hour of a meeting with Andrew and his wife to come up with some of her concerns and answer her questions, not his. It was all about her. And it was really awesome. And if they did this in the very beginning, and that's why it's one of our pieces, it would definitely have probably caused a lot less tension than where they are right now.
So good. Was there anything we're leaving out here that needs addressed?
So basically, this is an introduction into our system and our framework because I wanted to create a product that would help everyone in the beginning. And this is the final piece to help you from, let's say you're a firefighter and you're doing this part time, you got maybe 10 yards or something like that. I'm not going to recommend bookkeeping to you when you have 10 yards. And so I think you should get bookkeeping early. I think you should, there's certain things in marketing maybe you should do really early, but for the most part, you just need to do some basics. And that's what this book does. And it helps you lay the basics. And then, we're really hoping to stay with you over the years where, eventually you do the boot camp, you've done the workbook, you get to 75K, then bring some bookkeeping in. Bookkeeping's pretty good at, 75,000, 100,000, get that bookkeeping in there, get you some email marketing campaigns coming in. We do that. We build websites. And then we've also got all our, experts waiting for you for any questions that you have. So you need a question about something specific in terms of turf nutrition. We got Kevin right here. He can tell you the answer really quick. You don't have to look all over the internet or second guess yourself or whatever. But Lawn Care Launch literally will help take you from 0 to 7 or 8 figures. That's the whole point of it. I want one complete framework to hold your hand and eventually have you thinking on your own. I don't want to be trying to hold your hand up into infinity. Eventually, you got to make. We want to give you the confidence to make your own decisions. And so that's the whole premise of Lawn Care Launch. And then we're also going to do a lot of back end work for you on top of that. You don't want to do your bookkeeping, obviously. You don't want to be doing email marketing campaigns. You don't want to be building a website, all that stuff. We even have a design library. Stephanie's built this awesome design library for door hangers. Lawn Care Launch does everything you need to scale your company outside of, maybe a call center. But anyway, yeah, that's the whole premise of it. 0 to 7 or 8 figures. That's what Lawn Care Launch is all about.
Absolutely love it. Well, I'm looking forward, Lord willing, to seeing you guys in Louisville, Kentucky next month for your first year attending the Equip Expo. It's a big trade show. I talked to the leadership team from Equip yesterday, and they were telling me that they're at their record attendance for how many people have signed up year to date. At the moment, if it finishes, on pace as it did in previous years, they'll have the most attendees this year, which last year I believe it was 27,500. So this is lawn care, landscaping folks coming out to see the latest and greatest. I saw a lawnmower yesterday that's going to be there this year from Crest Commercial. That's 100% fully autonomous. So like, do you know how they have these autonomous cars? I'm not going to get in one, but they have like cars where there's no human being. Have you heard about these things?
Yes.
Well, they use the same technology, and so this mower was just mowing this resort, and Payjack's testing it out, like running in front of it. We're throwing a soccer ball at it. We're trying to get this thing off the game, and it just would back up and then mow, and it mowed really good, and then it'll just get right onto your trailer and get ready to go to the next yard. It's wild. So anyway, all this innovation and technology, and I do this full time, basically in media and the lawn care industry. I'm struggling to keep up with all this stuff, but it's the latest and greatest equipment is going to be there. And then the networking component. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys, seeing John Pajak, seeing Naylor, seeing Andy Wilson and Tony Rudolph and all these guys that we've had on the podcast throughout the year. Cornell Mack, I know you just talked about, you're talking to him, Joey. Like all these guys we get to and gals, we get to fellowship for a few days. So I'm glad you guys are coming this year.
It's literally 30 days away. It's 1 month away. Because LCR is 1 month away, and then the show starts on Wednesday.
You're going to Naylor's event?
Correct.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's on the Monday and Tuesday, the LCR Summit. I talked to Naylor yesterday. There's a few tickets left for that, but that one will that one's limited because it's in a hotel like ballroom, and there's just it's limited. The Equip Expo, they can reach, they can get another 10,000 people in there, no big deal. But if you're going to Naylor Taliaferro's LCR Summit event, make sure you get your ticket today, because once that sucker sells out, it's just limited seating. It's in a hotel ballroom type thing, which has limited seats. So
yeah, so come by and see us at the booth. We'll be there with Lawn Care Launch, and we're going to be in the West Wing. Yeah.
So I got to get you in the South Wing next year.
We'll get there next
year. You didn't know. It's all right.
I didn't know what I was doing.
It's no big deal. And I think, honestly, you guys will get a lot of good times just mingling with the community at the events and stuff like that. And I'll keep you in the loop. But Thursday evening, we'll be doing a big meetup at the Kentucky International Convention Center. It's downtown Louisville. And Naylor's going to be doing a party there, a meetup. Greg Chisholm is going to be attending for the first time in 10 years. He's the one who started the whole YouTube lawn care community. He started making YouTube videos like 2013 or 12, where he would go out and he'd mow some lady's backyard in Illinois for like $25, and he'd film himself doing it, and he'd put it on the internet. Be like, all right, guys, I'm going to go cut this lady's yard. I'm charging her $30. And then he'd like set up his tripod. He'd film mowing her backyard, and then he'd do like a voiceover. And anyway, now there's a whole bunch of people making lawn care content, but he was the first one, like the innovator, the pioneer, the OG. And anyway, he hasn't gone to Equip for 10 years. It used to be called GIE, but he's coming this year, which I'm like, pumped up. He'll be at Naylor's event. And then Cornell Max doing an event on Wednesday night at a bowling alley. Mitchell Gordy's doing an event on Tuesday from 3 to 6 at Merle's Whiskey Kitchen in downtown Louisville. The first 100 people will get free food at that. So there'll be all kind of community events for you guys to mingle to as well. And then I know you guys have a booth there, so you'll be mingling.
Yeah, we're gonna have some pretty cool giveaways at the booth too. So stop by and sign up for some giveaways.
Oh yeah, we're giving away the Paul Jameson book bundle too. I haven't even told you about that, Paul, but there's gonna be a Paul Jameson book bundle there. It's one of our giveaways.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Level up your money. The new book's out. So alrighty, guys. Well, I got a hard stop here 6 minutes ago. I lost track of time. Time flies when you're having fun. So I gotta roll out. But I appreciate you guys sharing all this information. Mr. Producer will put in the show notes the link to the lawn care launch, and then the information for the boot camp is at the top of the Lawn Care Launch's website. So you guys click on that link in today's show notes to learn more.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. We really appreciate it.